thought like some of these were tough. That one I was really not clear on. They said, yeah. I didn't know if it was Kindle or Kindle. They're like, oh, Kindle, let's give them a book. But yep, you got it. Oh, thank you. I just dawned on me, you didn't have any Canada yet because they haven't played the U.S. Oh. So a friend of mine came over and did the inter-squad on Tuesday when I was gone. And then, what have they only played 2 games, Sweden and Finland. When you want to go?
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the final game of the World Junior Summer Showcase. Team USA hitting the ice here at Ritter Arena on the University of Minnesota campus, where this afternoon the United States takes on their arch rivals from the north, Canada. And this will be a very interesting tilt for many reasons, but one is that either of these two teams have not won a game. John Connolly joining me this afternoon. I'm Jim Rich. And to say Canada or the United States has not won a game is rather bizarre.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week. The U.S. had a split squad to start, played Sweden and Finland a couple times, and then Canada had a little inter-squad red versus black. But Wednesday, the U.S. and Canada played Sweden and Finland, and then they flipped and played them in reverse order. And those 4 games were all large margins of victory for the Scandinavian teams. So if the World Junior Summer Showcase is a checkup, these teams have failed, and both benches are looking for answers. We're not sure who's on the team. We're not sure how the power play unit looks, looking for answers in goal. And this pits 2 teams that had a similar week, so it should shape up to be an even matchup and a great game.
Yes, Canada so far, since they've cut down to 1 team, has given up an average of 7 goals a game. Meanwhile, the United States, they've given up an average of 6 goals per game. So to say this could be a high-scoring affair, if you look back, I would say that could be the recipe here this afternoon. It'll be very interesting to see how this goes. Team USA versus Team Canada. And we are set to go. Cullen Potter set to draw it off for the United States. He goes against Cole Reshney. Puck is dropped, and we are underway with the final game of the 2025 World Junior Summer Showcase. Of course, the tournament will be here in Minnesota in late December, and that will be hosted by the United States at the XL Energy Center in St. Paul, and then here on the University of Minnesota campus, they will use Mariucci Arena as the secondary building. Now Kleber carries in for the U.S., fires one wide of the cage, and it rebounds back out to center. Riker Lee, who has played a sensational tournament to now, the Madison cap and first round pick of the Nashville Predators, sends it in deep. Bednarik on the far wall, couldn't keep it in the Canadian zone, and it's dumped out and thrown right in by Brushevitz. Canada can't clear. After it on the far side, Bednarik. But Ritchie gets it out, but he turns it right over. Bednarik coming in. Drop pass. Back to Bednarik. He gets tied up in the corner as Kwasnicki tried to give it right back to him. U.S., though, keeps it in the offensive zone. Now they'll make changes. Back to get it, Ben Danford throws it up the far side, and now the Canadians carry it in. Brady Martin throws it in behind, but the U.S. quickly on it. Martin back at the blue line. Flings it around behind the U.S. cage. On the far side, it's knocked back behind the U.S. net. Rayom after it. Kevon as well, and finally Hendricks settles things down. Gives to Rayom, and the Michigan Wolverine sends it all the way down. It goes off a Canadian stick, so no icing. Now Hendricks, penalty coming up here, trying to make a statement, and then Aitchison has some words for Moore, but he will get the gate, and they call it boarding on Will Moore. So Canada, who has not scored a power play goal since they've been put together in one squad right there. Depends if that's how they're going to call it again, because we saw that in the U.S.
9 power play goals for Finland, so we'll keep an eye on the U.S. kill here and whether Canada can take advantage.
Big face-off win by the Mo, and that allows the U.S. to get the clear. Muse brings it up and then drops it back at the blue line. A bit of a mix-up, but the Canadians dump it in deeper. Fiddler clears it around, not out. Boisvert plays it around on the far side. Hage puts it in behind. Canada on the power play here, minute 25. Reshdy goes across, centering pass right in front, and Martin couldn't handle it cleanly, and the U.S. is able to skate it out of danger. And sent all the way down by Osborne.
Penalties half expired. U.S. has done a very good job on the kill, keeping them at bay.
Now Reshdy runs into traffic, loses the puck, and the U.S. slides it all the way down. Kwasnicki penalty killing up front. Now Anisak gets across the line, plays it around to the far side. Back near the blue line, Muse. Hage brings it back to Muse, now to Hage, centering pass. Cross to the far side, redirect right on, save is made. And the puck goes in behind, comes out the far side, and it's poked in. And Canada gets the early goal on the power play. And Merrick Vanacker should get credit for it.
Yeah, Vanacker picked it up on the bounce. There was a backhand shot just wide of the mark from Brady Martin and came out the other side, and Vanacker with the goal.
It comes 3 minutes and 44 seconds into the first period.
There's the replay, and the puck pops out just across the goal line. He had enough room to slide it in. Goaltender in this one for the U.S. is Caleb Heil. Worth pointing out, there are 6 Minnesotans in the lineup, 3 at forward, 2 on defense, and Caleb Heil in goal. And I think that's, in part, why we have a very good crowd here. I heard 1,500 tickets sold for today's action, and it's not quite full, but we're over half.
Oh, yeah, it's a great crowd. By far the biggest we've had here all week. It was Saturday, and so everybody had a chance to get down here and check out Team USA, see what they could see.
Yeah, a lot of the games were weekday afternoons, 1 p.m. start, 4:30 for the late game. And in speaking with Dave Fisher, oftentimes this has been held at the Plymouth Ice Arena in the Detroit suburbs, and they've had a better crowd here in Minnesota.
Now on the far side, U.S. down 1-0. As Vaneker stuck it in. Heil getting the start. As you said, one of 5 goaltenders here. He hails from Victoria, Minnesota, played for the Madison Caps last year, 39 games, 2.85 goals against, 896 saves percentage, 7th round pick of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Moore dumps it in from center, but quickly Canada counters. Coming through the neutral zone, flying across the line, long shot doesn't get through. Ritchie floated in front. And that was just out of the reach of Misa, the second round pick, or rather the second player picked in the National Hockey League draft by the San Jose Sharks. He's number 11. Kevon takes it ahead, tried to get it to Osborne, lost it in his skates. Canadians jump on it. Ritchie gets it down low. Osborne runs into Ritchie. And Canada trying to maintain possession in the offensive zone. And now Kevon gets it ahead. And the U.S. will get it to the Canadian blue line and then make changes. Moe, first man in on the forecheck, forces the pass to the far side, but then it's kicked ahead. And now Canada in the neutral zone. Carbonneau feeds it to the near side. The Americans jump on it there. McKinney drops it back to the blue line, and now Vansagi backhands it in from the red line, gives pursuit. He'll be the first man to it. Runs into the netminder. That's Joshua Ravensbergen. He's tending pipes for the Canadians today. Also a draft pick of the San Jose Sharks. What's the total number of first rounders on this Canadian roster?
The Canadian,
23, I think.
Yeah, the Canadian roster today, and they brought 2 teams and have players in and on the lineup. But today there's 9 of the 13 forwards were first round, and the defense, it's 3 of the 7, and 1 of the 2 goaltenders. And when we say first round, some of them were even single-digit picks. Misa number 2, Martin number 5, Jake O'Brien number 8. And a lot of chatter about how some players were left out of this game because they have such depth.
Right.
But it isn't like it's a picked-over group and you're left with the unpopped kernels at the bottom of your popcorn. These are still some high-powered players and luxury U.S., by comparison, 4 first-rounders dressed in today's game.
Boisvert tries to flip it in. Rayon knocks it down and puts it back out to center. Kleber steps up, flattens his man, Page, right at the center red line. Kleber, the big UMD Bulldog defenseman, making his presence known.
He's 6'5", 210 in the program, and one of those guys that if you're smart, you go the other way. Big hit by a big boy.
Yes. He takes up a lot of real estate out on the ice. And that centering pass comes right through.
Yeah, great job locating Mooney coming in on the back door, and Cullen Potter set him a pass, shot just wide. But that was the U.S.'s first scoring chance, just a near miss. Canada were more than 8 minutes into the game, leads 1-0. They only have 1 shot to goal. It was on the power play.
Now walking in, backhander lifted up over the top of the net as Mooney, LJ Mooney had that. Mooney, of course, going to the University of Minnesota. this upcoming fall. Best offensive pressure by the United States as we approach the halfway point of period number 1. Now Bednarik gains control, flips it in, and the U.S. will go back to work. Kicked off the wall by Ellick. Back the other way. Vanaker knocks it to the corner. U.S., though, quickly jumps on that. And Kevon's pass off the mark, so the U.S. will start changing the forward unit. Shots just 2-1 in favor of Team USA.
And, Jim, we've had very, very few whistles. It's been a nice flow to the game.
Ritchie coming right in. Got a great shot away, and Heil made a big save there on the Minnesota Wild draft pick. That has been very clean and very crisp to this point. Misa fields it across. Shot deflects in behind. Canadians get the rebound. Back to Smith. Fires over to the open side. Dump to the corner to Martin. Martin battling Rumba. Puck bouncing around in front. Finally, Kevon knocks it down with a glove, and then he'll flip it into the Canadian zone. And again, the U.S. has to change after defending that whole time in their own zone. Mo trying to keep it in, but it comes out to center. Rayon throws it right back into the Canadian end. On the wall, U.S. Mo gets it free. Now Rayon steps around one man, cuts back to the slot, and it's speared off his stick just as he goes to pull the trigger. And the Canadians, though, can't get out. Here's Mo in the slot, throws it on goal, and the save is made, and we get a whistle with 9:45 to go here in the first.
A nice defensive play there by Jake O'Brien. He's an 8th pick of this Seattle Kraken, and you saw him close that space and, as you said, spear the puck off the stick with a nice poke check here. He just skates so well that he was able to get over there and take away the space from the American. Canadians just doing a great job. You know, Jim, we've been here all week. Seems like forever ago the U.S. opened up and they had that close game. They ended up pulling away at the end, beating Finland 5-2.
Right.
But that's ancient history, as teams have played several games since then. And the chatter in the building is how people would like to see some signs of life from both of these teams. And we had some discussion between games. One of our colleagues spoke to a player after the games and said, you know, the Canadians were just playing indifferent hockey. And it's nice to see halfway through the first, both of these teams with a little bit more life to them. And that really shows in the shot board. They've taken away each other's chances because everywhere they go, they're all over each other. And the only goal coming on a power play when Canada took advantage.
Yeah, and for those watching and trying to read into who's in and who's out, especially for the United States, trying to figure out who will be wearing the red, white, and blue come December, the coaching staff and general manager John Van Beesbroek are using this to evaluate individuals. And so some guys have gotten extra games because they may know someone that's a returning player, trying to figure out how players react in different situations. And so don't read a lot into this lineup you see here and go like, oh, gee, Max Plan, is it going to play for Team USA or Cole Yzerman? No, the U.S. is using this as an evaluation, as is Canada, because as you mentioned, they have sent some of their big names home. Yeah.
Cheaper flights on a weekday? I don't know. No hotel.
So a lot at stake for a lot of players here as they're trying to impress the USA hockey brass to earn a spot in this club and get a return trip. Most people don't want to come to Minnesota in December and January, but I bet you every guy on the ice here would love to be here at that time.
They'll give up their Christmas to come to Minnesota in December. That was a great look in that slot area for Mason Mo. Shot went just wide. He heads off. One of the 6 Minnesotans in this game.
Flip back in. Canadians, Reed plays it around to the far side. Danford tied up there, but he's able to get it back to Reed, and he'll reset behind the Canadian net. 8:50 to go in the first period, and the Canadians will just clear and get a fresh set of troops out on the ice.
It's interesting to watch that. You hear sometimes about a forecheck scheme with a third man high, and we had 2 wings down low, and Cullen Potter he kept drifting outside the zone, marking his man. So U.S. is especially careful in the early going here, and that's why the shots on goal. Canada's only got 2, and it's a nice defensive effort off the start here for the U.S.
Back to get it. Ellick plays it rink wide, and it's chipped into the U.S. zone. Osborne plays it ahead. Kleber now to Potter. He'll wing it in. Puts it in behind the Canadian net. Back to get her. Aitchison. He'll just put it back out. Not a lot of really connected plays right now. Both teams having a tough time getting anything really established.
They can't find any room. Absolutely the case, and it's because the skating has been so good, focused on taking away time. Watch Josephson. He'll get in on the puck carrier, and the rest of the Canadians trying to trap here, filling the passing lanes. We'll see if the U.S. can get up out of their own end and through the neutral with zone entry, but my guess is the play will die in neutral because of the Canadian trap.
Now it's center, turning, trying to find some room. Kevon gets it ahead to Bednarik. Now Kevon to the corner, centering pass, deflects off the traffic, and it finds a Canadian stick, and they'll bring it back out to center and slide it in across the blue line.
Watch skating by Kindle.
Plays it across, looking for the redirect for Josephson. Right on the doorstep was Protz, or Protz rather.
Love that play by Protz. He shot away from the goal, looking for the redirect back on goal. And what a smart play by left defenseman Owen Protz.
Now U.S. looking for the home run pass. Woznicki will get to the corner first, but he's quickly covered there by Muse. And Canada right back. Ritchie tips it in from center. Misa throws it up front, but the U.S. was there and quickly start back the other way. Working through center. Moore gets around one man. Goes to the corner. Takes it in behind. Will Moore still with it. Brings it back near the blue line. Still in control as Moore. Cuts to the forehand, and Ritchie is able to knock it off his stick momentarily. But now he gets it right back along the half boards.
It's quite a guitar solo by Moore. He had the puck on his stick for almost 15 seconds.
Back the other way, Martin plays it by Hendricks. Hendricks headed to St. Cloud State University. Out at center, Horcroft by himself. Plays it into the sideboards and then rolls it in behind. McKinney jumps in. Has it momentarily, but then it's taken away by Misa. 5:33 to go here in this opening period. Here's Mo in the circle. And his shot deflects. Goes over the glass and out of play.
It's an interesting game. It's super fun to watch because the pace has been good and they're all over each other. So a hockey purist really enjoys this style of play. But what we haven't had are scoring chances or shots to goal. The goal came on Canada's power play, and the total shots for both teams just 5. USA leads 3-2, and we're 15 minutes in. So it's a long extended feeling out period here. It might last the whole first period.
And I think that'd be fine for both coaching staffs, considering, as we touched on at the head of the game, Canada has given up 7 goals per game and the U.S. 6. So I think they would like to see things tighten up, and to this point, they have.
No question an improvement. They've kept from giving up scoring chances. They're not losing races for loose pucks and doing a very good job with passes in tight quarters.
Carbonneau ran over Fiddler in the center zone. U.S. now trying to gain control, but Ellick gets it across the line, but that's all the farther he goes as Versaghi took it away from him. Mo back in, puts on the brakes, tries to feed it across to Riker Lee, but it's tipped away from him, back out to center. Canadians get it across the line, but no further, delayed offside. Osborne connects on the long pass. Here's Lee cutting to the slot, tripped up, and that will draw a penalty against Canada. And so the U.S. now will get a chance to counter here on the power play with 4:32 to go in the first.
Yeah, much needed power play. We'll see who they put out for the power play unit. Watch the trip here on the replay. He went to cut back and catching him with that stray stick. I believe that was Carbonell headed off with the tripping call. So, Jim, interesting play there. Alec with a rush from defense. It was very strange. He overtook all three forwards. And then when he entered the zone, he skated till he lost it, and then he had to get on his horse and get back. And I just contrast that. We watched a very good game earlier between the two teams on stride, and you'd see the defenders choosing when to join in with the rush.
Right.
And that's something I'm sure the coaches didn't draw it up. Overtake your forwards, don't use them, enter the zone by yourself. So just kind of a strange play at this level. And I know you want to make an impact and show you can help the team, but you're not going to skate through 5 Americans, not at this level. Everybody can skate pretty well.
That's a true statement. Here's now Mooney, drops it back. Lee picks it up, dances across the blue line. Now curls back, tried to set it to Mooney. It's stolen and cleared by Canada.
What a play by Reshny to get a busy stick in there, knock down the pass, quickly sent it to the sidewall, got control, and cleared the zone. That allows Canada to get a fresh 4 on the penalty killers, in the U.S. now having trouble reestablishing the zone back behind their own goal line. 75 seconds to go on the man advantage.
Now Mooney drops it off. Lee coming through center. Uses the pick from Mooney, and now in behind Lee. U.S. gets it set up. Mooney, the quarterback of this power play for the United States. Takes the shot himself. It broke a Canadian stick, so fortunately for Canada, that puck's cleared over the glass, and the defender with a broken stick is able to get a new one.
That was a nice play. Kwasnick, I don't know if we're going to call that a shot or a pass. He pushed it forward, and Lee redirected it on goal. Ravensburgen made the save, but that was a real good play by the Americans. And what we're looking for as we watch these teams that have struggled is, are we seeing guys trying to make plays by themselves, or are they trying to make plays with the others on the ice? And that was a real nice connection there. Kwasnicka finding Lee. Still 52 seconds. I won't be surprised if the U.S. ties it up here.
More on the face-off, but again, Canada wins the draw, and Danford sends it all the way down. Shots just 4-2 in favor of the U.S. as we approach 3 minutes to go in the opening period. Coming through center. Potter gets across the line, but he's knocked down, and again, the Canadians clear it. That right on goal. Heil has to handle it, gives to Hendricks. Hendricks being dogged from behind, elects to drop it back as Reshny was on him. Back in, Kevon knocked off his stick. U.S. will keep it in the low zone. Swanson, top of the circle. Now to Hendricks. Plays it over to the far side. Hendricks again. Swanson comes to the slot. Shot gets blocked. And Canada has killed it off. They're back at full strength. Out of the past is Carbonell trying to put it back in front. That was broken up. Misa after it. Gets it to Carbonell. Quick turnaround shot. Heil the stick save. Rebound on the near side. Misa brings it back to the point to Smith. Drops it off. Ellick put it in behind, and now the U.S. grabs it there. And Kevon just gets it out to center as the U.S. has got to get their power play unit off and go back to the regular rotation.
Sometimes when you don't get the whistle, it can be tough to get the lines back intact.
Yeah, we saw that the other day against Sweden in the U.S. game. Martin couldn't come up with it. And now McKinney blasted from behind. That's an easy call for the official there. And this will be another power play for the United States as McKinney got blasted right in the numbers against the far boards, and Martin will go.
Yeah, good opportunity here for the U.S. They've had a power play, and we're at the end of the period, 1:37 to go. Yeah, that was kind of that's
unintelligent.
Yeah, I was going to say. I was going to say the dumb word, and there's no excuse for that. He's taken several strides to get there. He sees the number as he's releasing the puck. If you hit him at all, that's an obvious call. They can go just about anywhere in the book and call you for a charge or a board or a check from behind, interference, take your pick. And they called it a charge. So, yeah, a questionable play there by Martin.
So we'll see if the United States can tie it up here with the man advantage. Mooney brings it back to Lee. Now to Mooney. High slot. What a fake there. Dodged his man as the Canadians again have another broken stick. So 3.5 men killing this penalty.
Exactly. It's almost an extra advantage for the power play. So he should run to the bench and get a stick.
Now Lee. Shot didn't get through. Canadians have been.
And Reshny's got to be careful. Yeah, all you can do is use your arms because he doesn't have a stick. Reshny should have gone to get a stick. The temporary 5 seconds, 5-on-3. Now instead they've been 5-on-3.5 for 30 seconds.
Now Lee goes against that unstick defender. Puck comes to the front of the net. Now back to the point. Osborne drops it off to Lee. Side of the net, centering pass, doesn't connect, and it is cleared. And so the Canadians survive this. Heil now will have to play it with Spence right on him. He almost gave it to Spence, but the U.S. dodges a bullet there as Henricks gives it to Kevon. He's stripped at the blue line. Canada coming back shorthanded.
What an intercept. I believe that was Hendricks got a stick on it. That was a big steal.
That could have been dangerous because it would have sent in Michael Misa, the second overall pick, all alone on a breakaway. But it all started here with Heil behind the net. Almost gave it away. And still Canada was right on the U.S. trying to force that turnover.
So it's an overhanging penalty. 23 seconds remain. The U.S. will start period 2 on the power play. Scores 1-0. Shots 4-3. And given the lead up coming in with the last few games against the Scandinavian teams, I think it's a success for both teams. Strange play to end this period for Canada with the busted twig. At this level, the kids are old enough and have played a lot of hockey. I'm very surprised by the decision to stay on the ice, as you pointed out, 5-on-3.5. And then, the worst imaginable scenario, when he got on top of someone, all you can do is grab, and he could have been called for a hold, wrestling him down by the Planet Fitness size in the corner. And now that we have that behind us, take a look at the alternative. When he broke his stick, he could have gone to the bench, been replaced by another player, or handed a stick. You're looking at 5 seconds max, 5-on-3. Take your chances with that, because it was a long extended period where the U.S. really threatened. And fortunately for Canada, they did not give up a goal, but strange sequence to close period 1.
All right, the first period is in the books. Shots on goal favor the United States, but a meager total put up by both squads. So the shots through 20 minutes of play is 4-3 the U.S. Penalties, each team had one. Canada, as you saw in the replay, cashed in on their opportunity. Merrick Vanaker with the lone goal. All right, we're through one. Back with period 2 in just a bit. Welcome back to Ritter Arena, the final game of this 2025 World Junior Summer Showcase. Team USA, Team Canada, set to start the second period. The Canadians cashed in on their power play opportunity. The U.S. will have one that carries over for just 23 seconds here in this second period. Jim Rich along with John Connolly. And John, it was I think the message had been sent. We just saw Craig Button, who of course works for TSN, covers Hockey Canada extensively. And I asked him what he thought. He goes, I think the message was, let's tighten up at our own end, boys. And that probably was the same message that Bob Motzko and his staff gave to his club as well.
Yeah, it was an uneventful period. 7 shots total, 4 for the U.S., 3 for Canada. That included some power play time for both teams. But there were a lot of good takeaways because the teams seemed to do a good job of taking away each other's space. A lot of hard skating and a lot of up and down, a lot of action with the puck moving around, but very little toward the goal. And I think that's a win for two teams that have had trouble keeping the puck out of the net against the Scandinavians the last 2 games.
Now Kleber brings it back to the point. Osborne, bank pass, connects with Swanson. Now Osborne, Kleber did a nice job just to hold down the Canadian defender's stick, or he would have been able to tip it out to center or perhaps get away shorthanded. But Kleber just let the puck go and played the man. And now Canada back at full strength. So the U.S. 0 for 1 on the power play. Long shot by Osborne, right on, gets it back again, loads up, fires again, deflected right on, big rebound, shoveled to the line. Kleber knocked it down with a glove but couldn't keep it in the zone. Then he rips that one off the linesman. Back in comes Potter with speed, fires, and he missed high, going for that top corner, and it ends up all the way back in the U.S. zone.
Yeah, when you shoot far side and miss high and wide, typically breaks out for the other team. Near side, maybe not always.
Now Kwasnicki going to the net, and he's denied. Good chance there. The U.S. getting more offensive chances here in the first minute 15 than we saw in the entire opening period. Bednarik on the forecheck, trying to force the turnover, but Aitchison holds him off. And then he'll play it around to the far side, and it's shoveled up the boards and out into the U.S. zone. Rombach back to get it. Gets it to the blue line, not out, but the U.S. comes through center. Bednarik across the line has a man break into the net. Couldn't get it through. Kwasnicki, he's been good this week. Kwasnicki has been. Jacob Kwasnicki from Burnsville, Minnesota, on the U.S. National Under-18 team. 18 games last year, 18 goals, 21 assists in 66 games. He is a Gopher commit for 2026. He signed with Penticton and will play major junior hockey this upcoming season before coming back to the University of Minnesota a year from now.
Yeah, Big Daddy Quaz is a great player. I mentioned there's 6 Minnesotans in the lineup today, 3 forwards. He's one of them. He played his high school hockey, and for people outside Minnesota, we take it pretty serious here, very high level. We had high school players drafted first round, third round this year, and he was on a loaded Wayzata High team and led them in scoring as a 9th grader. That was enough for the National Team Development Program to bring him in where he spent the last 2 years. So nice seeing him playing in the hometown. And as you mentioned, he's been a bright spot today.
Here's Riom, wrist shot right on, and the save is made and held by Ravensbergen.
Scoring at home, the Minnesotans in this game, Jacob Kwasnicki, Cullen Potter, Mason Moe, Jacob Rombach, Adam Kleber, and Caleb Heil. And they are also all from the Twin Cities metropolitan area. None of them outstate players. Are all somewhat local, meaning they could get friends and family to come watch today with a short drive, probably no more than a half hour.
Now you're talking about Kwasnicki and his year at Wayzata. He had 45 points in just 28 games.
And they were loaded with good players 2 grades up from him. And what he really stood out for was blazing speed against much older players. he oftentimes would be able to beat people with sheer speed. So no surprise to me when the national team came calling, and Kwasnicka's doing very, very well.
Now Canada with a chance, driving in, and the shot's deflected in behind, as getting that opportunity for the Canadians was Malcolm Spence, draft pick of the New York Rangers.
Yeah, they did such a great job getting Spence up ice where they went vertical with a pass, and he's got wheels, turned on the Jets, and came in wide. Good scoring chance here on the replay. 2 defenders scrambling to get back. Shot early because he knew that they were closing that gap, but we saw Caleb Heil make the save, and that keeps it a 1-0 game. We are 3 minutes deep into period 2. Canada has only mustered 4 shots to goal versus 8 for the United States.
Josephson on the face-off against Cole McKinney. And Canada wins the draw. Protz gets it out, plays it in to the U.S. end. Ole Josephson after it. Pick of the Seattle Kraken. But the U.S. puts it right back out. Danford throws it back up. Giant hit by McKinney. Stuns Danford. He's slow to get up. And he stays on the ice, but he got blasted. Now Danford has the puck and played it ahead. It was a great check and a clean one, because we know how tight the officials have been calling this. But McKinney with a huge, huge hit. Now Canada with too many men on the ice. The U.S. bench calling for the penalty. And we'll see, did they get the attention of the official?
They just went with an icing call, I believe. I don't see any of the finger in the blender, which is the signal for the too many men. You mentioned Ollie Josephson. I said earlier Jake O'Brien, and the third Kraken draft pick in this game is Blake Fiddler. And I mentioned that because the NHL teams have their own development camp, and these players would have seen each other very recently, no more than a month or two ago.
Now Ritchie with it, throws it on net. Heil makes the save, and USA is able to clear it out. And now the Canadian bench cheers as a big hit was thrown on the far side, counteracting that hit by McKinney.
That's my longtime friend Owen Protz stepping up, delivering the hits, and you could see Canada trying to match the physicality. It's been an evenly played game, and I think it's what we wanted to see, Jim. We talked a lot this week looking for more from Canada and the United States, and this game has definitely not disappointed. Some bright sides for both.
Now Ritchie drops it off to Martin. Back near the blue line. Puts it along the sideboards. Martin in traffic. Now comes out of it, centers it, but it's intercepted in front, taken in behind by Potter. He's double teamed, but he's able to work it around the far side. Now Kleber tracks it down, plays it to the blue line, and finally the U.S. gets out of their own end.
And Protz hit Lee. Now he takes out Potter, and you saw a little hit earlier this shift on Lee and said Protz is just going to let people know, and now we've seen his third takedown this shift. Owen Protz, big boy, not afraid to mix it up, and just a great shift for him as he heads off. They've given him very little playing time, and it's a large group that's come, but you kind of wonder if a spark like that could be a catalyst for him to catch the attention of Coach Hunter and maybe get into the consideration, because they clearly need some grit.
Well, and that's the way Coach Hunter played back in his day, so I'm sure that drew a smile from the Canadian head coach.
Yeah, there's nothing dirty, nothing targeting. He's just a hard player and big frame, so love seeing that from Owen Protz, a pick of the Canadians in Montreal.
Now stepping up, going right in, and he put it off the post. Great move there, driving through the slot and trying to put it upstairs was Boisvert.
Boisvert, all Swedish, no finish. He came in, split the defenders, pulled to his forehand. And the puck's got some paint on it because he caught that post. But what an individual effort. And, that old knife through warm butter analogy applies. Boisvert went through the defenders like they were standing still.
Yeah. U.S. defender going for the puck, and didn't come up with anything.
Great work on the replay there, and Boisvert, narrow miss. Crisis averted for the U.S. They still trail by only one. They've had some bright spots. They do have shots on goal 9-4. Interestingly enough, Jim, we've got someone that's adhering to a very strict count. Not a shot on goal because it hit the post and tipped out, so it stays at 4. But that was the second best scoring chance of the game right there by Boisvert.
Well, things getting a little testy on this draw. Linesman trying to tell the Canadian player to give the U.S. player on the far side a little real estate. And finally the puck is dropped. Danford, good to see he's back out there after taking that big hit from McKinney in front of the U.S. bench. And now here comes Team USA. Cross center, Moore gets it across the line, off a Horkoff's skate. He has to chase it down. Comes back near the blue line. Osborne spins away from Carbonneau on his backhand. Plays it in deep.
Yeah, Canada's pretty tight. Stretch pass. They had two players out top high and the defenders down low, but they had the center packed super low right in front of the paint. So you could see even when they're defending out a little bit further, they're still very tight in defensively. And I think that's really been the theme of this game, is both teams trying to minimize those scoring chances for the others after really being schooled on Wednesday and Friday by there's no way to sugarcoat it. What do you say? These teams were giving up, 6, 7, 8 goals in those games. And it's 18? The two teams gave up 26, if my math and my memory serves. And, at the elite level world hockey, you're thinking a game might be more 3-2, not 6-4.
No doubt about it. Carbonneau, great pass, connects on the far side, driving the net, and then ends up in the net, and that's going to be a penalty. And now everybody follows in, and we'll see how this is sorted out. A couple of players end up wrestling on the ice, the linesman in there as well. And we'll see how they sort this out. I think, was that O'Brien that came in on that far wing that started all this?
Yeah, so Vanaker's the one that scored himself, I think. You mentioned going hard to the net, and he definitely was going hard to the net when he wound up in it. The jersey, and they kind of wear a practice jersey, that has a tear now. So here we see the stumble, and he continued into the goaltender.
And that's what brought the U.S. players.
And the U.S. takes exception to it, but there was nothing malicious. He had been knocked off of his balance and came into Heil. So I'm guessing, what a coincidence, everything will offset here, matching minors, we'll see what they go with.
Yeah, there was an original penalty on the U.S. before the scrum.
Okay.
So we'll see if the follow-up negates that advantage.
Or does the follow-up dancing partners offset, and then there'd still be some power play time. But for the moment, I only see one player in for each. So unless we've got a double, this is just going to be, Canada's got a penalty on the board. So the penalty that's on the board has been assessed to Merrick Vanaker. And if that's for running over the goalie, I think they've missed what preceded it, which is where he was skating up hard and had one of the American defenders knock him off balance, and he continued on his path, unable to alter it, and came in over Heil. So we'll listen to the public address announcer, but tough break here for Canada-U.S. trying to tie the game, headed to the power play.
Yeah, you're right. That's probably what they called was goaltender interference, and then the skirmish matching minors for roughing, and now the extra player is headed in to the Canadian penalty box.
Well, now there's nothing on the board, Jim. Now it goes back up. So Parasak is the number that's up on the board, and we'll listen to hear what the call is from our public address, U.S. on the power play.
Here's Osborne, walks in, fires. Horkoff right in front, just tipped it wide. Horkoff now gains control. Mooney, Osborne takes a look. Now Mooney, side of the net. Woznicka rolls it in front, trying to get it to Horkoff. That was broken up. Mooney brings it back to Osborne. Now Mooney feeds it across. Wrist shot right on. And no rebound as Horcroft was right there taking a look. And Horcroft is the perfect kind of person you want in front of that net on the power play. 6'5", 200 pounds he stands. And he did score a goal earlier in this tournament on the power play.
Yeah, big frame used there as the net front presence. You can screen the goaltender. He's ready for a rebound. Also right there for a tip. So the calls that went onto the game sheet, it's an offsetting minors, roughing for Rombach and Vanaker. And then the other penalty was Vanaker for goaltender interference, as you said, Jim. And from our vantage point with the benefit of replay, I don't think it was warranted. He got a tough break there. He was off balance and knotted up with a player that knocked him further off balance, and he couldn't get out of the way of the goaltender.
Fed it across. Mooney, bottom of the circle. Brings it back. Lee. Mooney the drive, and it hit the outside of the net and stayed out. Osborne quarterbacking. Gives it to Riker Lee. His shot whipped wide of the cage. Mooney picks up the rebound on the near boards. Brings it back to Osborne. Cross to Lee. Walking in. Drops to Osborne. Now takes it. Pad save. Rebound to Mooney. Quickly back to Osborne. Walking across the line. Now to Mooney. Takes a look. Side of the net. McKinney tries to go cross ice. Great play by Osborne to keep it alive. Boy, I've really liked what that kid has done at the point on these man advantages. Lee now turning back. Drops to Osborne. Wrist shot right on, and it's gobbled up and held.
Oh, that's a blatant headlock, and it'll be interesting to see if they're just going to let it go, boys will be boys, or if they're going to, no, they're just going to let it go. That was a stoppage of play, and you saw Aitchison goes for that collar to elbow hookup, and no penalty called, but a little physical. A lot more physicality in this second period than we saw all week.
11:21 to go here in the period. 34 seconds left on this power play, which has been an impressive one by the United States. They have kept the Canadians bottled up in their own end throughout. Now here's Potter. Plays it down low, gets the return pass. Henricks down low, Swanson feeds it in front, looking for Kevon. That failed to connect. Now Potter feeds it across. Swanson puts it down low, right in front. And Kevon couldn't get it stick free to get good wood on his attempt. And finally the Canadians clear just as the penalty time expires.
Canada puts Protz out as the penalty expires. Let's watch for Owen Protz, see if there's some physicality this shift. And he starts out by rubbing out the U.S. player coming through the slot.
Now Parasock carries in for Canada. He's covered by Hendricks. Canadians, though, get it back to Muse. Cross point. Wrist shot goes over the top of the cage. Rebound to the near side, and it's pushed back out to center where the U.S. jumps on it. Will Moore poke checked at the line, and that threw the play offside. And so we'll have a face-off with 10:17 to go here in the second period.
One little housekeeping item. We saw a player earlier with a torn jersey. And number 42, Terrence Smith for Team Canada, now wearing jersey number 2. I don't know if it's got his name on it or not, but they did find a replacement as that jersey was torn right around the neckline.
Well, everybody's been changing jersey numbers throughout this tournament. Every game we come back, people have switched numbers because of the combined teams and switching from USA Blue to USA White to now just the melded USA squad. So a lot of guys with the same number had to give up their number the next day.
And they go by seniority, so the guys are very, very clear on which one they want. It's always the clean one.
Shots are 12-4 now in favor of the U.S. So that power play really helped them ramp up their shot total.
Yeah, let's just point out we're at the game's midpoint, 10 minutes to go, period 2. Canada, just 4 shots to goal. So a good showing here from the U.S. They trail, but it's been a very good showing.
Now Kleber drops it off on the near side. Mooney, nice move to get it down to the corner. Kleber gets it to Mooney. He'll walk the goal line, tried to go up top, but the Canadian goaltender held his ground. And now Canada goes for the long pass. Hage going in. He's hooked by Kleber, and that's going to be a penalty. And looks like Hage will go to the power play for Canada, and Kleber will go to the box.
I want to see this. I'm surprised that's not a penalty shot. He's in the clear. You've got the hook there. He pulls him off the puck, and they go with the garden variety hook. This puts Canada on the power play, and Kleber going off for the U.S. And I've always thought it's an interesting thought exercise. Do you even want the penalty shot, right? Your conversion rate on a penalty shot might not be as high as it is on a power play. But, boy, I'm surprised they did not opt for the penalty shot there with how he clearly was a stride behind when he got that long reach. And long reach is an understatement. Adam Kleber also 6'5", so he could catch him from pretty far behind with the stick.
So the second round pick of the Buffalo Sabres will sit for possibly 2 minutes. Spent a couple years at Lincoln, where he was their top scoring defenseman, but in his first year at UMD in 33 games, just 2 goals, 3 assists. So you can see what that transition is from the USHL to the NCHC.
And if you don't get power play time, it's very unlikely you're going to see a lot of points as a defenseman at these higher levels. So, Jim, we're gonna have a game resume here. They just scraped off some snow, but thought I'd just share something interesting and a fun moment here. The jersey, the swapping, me joking about laundry. In the Tour de France, the leader of the event gets to wear a yellow jersey, and if he's not bleeding the next day, another guy gets the yellow jersey.
That is correct.
I heard once it never gets washed, and that in their culture, they don't mind wearing it, but that seems weird. So you don't actually want the yellow jersey if you're into hygiene.
No, either that or get it from day one and keep it. A long bomb, and that deflected off of the U.S. defender in front of the cage. Kwasnicki, he felt that one, but he'll stay out there as he and Potter are the 2 forwards up front for the United States on this penalty kill.
Talk about an event that doesn't get national coverage anymore. You had Lamond, Armstrong, Landis, and I bet that hasn't made your nightly news for years.
No.
No Americans.
You know what it is? Because there's so much stuff available now on television for sports with streaming and all the actions that you can find. Those world events like Wimbledon was the only thing on a weekend morning. Now you got softball, college baseball. You've got minor league baseball. There's so much on the tube nowadays that it kind of minimizes what were once marquee must-watch events.
Yeah, narrowcasting versus broadcasting, 3 channels and PBS back in our day.
Correct. Now Aitchison at the blue line. Centering pass, deflected to the corner. Minute 12 to go on this Canadian power play. In behind, Carbonneau. His pass picked off, and the U.S. gets the clear. And now Mo, Hendricks, Osborne, and Vinsagi all come out as fresh penalty killers for the final 53 seconds. So this man advantage for Canada. Muse carries it, drops it back to Ritchie. Plays it over on the far side. Canadians attacking. Muse, high slot. Drops it over on the near side to Ritchie. Back to Muse. Far side. Moving in. Blocker save made by Heil. And the rebound into the corner. Osborne rips it around. And it comes out, comes back in, and the crowd called that one for the officials. It's offside at the U.S. blue line.
You're watching this game on USAHockeyTV.com, which means you have access to all of the games. You can go back into the archives. And I want to contrast what we're seeing here. Both teams' power plays look pretty basic compared to what we saw earlier from the Swedes and the Finns. They had very quick one-touch passing from the Swedes, and in the case of the Finns, they scored, what was it, 8, 9 power play goals in the 5 games this week. So it'll be interesting to see with a little bit more time to prepare, and then maybe some personnel shifts as everybody's available. Do these power plays for U.S. and Canada look different in December and January?
5 seconds left on the penalty time to Kleber. Canadians already have 1 power play goal. Looking to get one here in the final seconds, but U.S. now back at full strength, and that clearing pass gets out over the blue line. So Boisvert has to wait for teammates to get onside, plays it to an opening wing. Protz sends it in deep.
No, you've mentioned all throughout the week the evaluation period and what these countries are doing. And, you know, as we get deeper into this game, Protz is getting more minutes. You wonder if it's that they're taking a more serious look at him, or is it because they're resting others? But clearly, his physicality has been a difference every time he's on the ice. And I'm here for it because it's been it's been open play. You know, the hockey hasn't been that physical. And it's nice to see this, you know, this final event of the 11 games have a little bit more of that, maybe in-season fire that you're looking for.
Face-off coming up in the Canadian zone. And Mooney can't win it. And the Canadians get the clear. Spence plays it over, but it's offside. Now they'll tag up as Kindle was in ahead of the play. Bednarik couldn't get through. U.S. has to regroup. Now Rayon tripped up. Kindle brings it back in. Cutting right to the net. Beautiful move, and it's a tap-in tally at the side of the cage. A remarkable effort. Walking right in was Jake O'Brien. Then he slid it over to the wide-open teammate who deposited it, and Canada has now doubled their advantage as it was Malcolm Spence on the back door.
Spence on the back door, and as you mentioned, he gets the goalie frozen, and then Spence tapping it in just a little 2-foot, and one of the American players misses the pickup on that back post. He was in proximity, but he didn't get a piece of Spence, and the Canadians score their second goal of the game in the 34th minute on just their 6th shot, Jim. So they had 1 power play, and then they've got that one there, and they've only gotten 6 shots to goal. So the U.S., which has done a good job minimizing the zone time and chances for the Canadians, finds themselves in a 2-goal hole.
Yeah, if somebody told you you held Canada, well, here they come again, 2-on-1, quick shot, save made by Heil, and he covers up. And if somebody had told you you're over halfway through the hockey game and you've held Canada to 6 shots, you think you would be in a very advantageous situation.
Yeah, you know, 40 seconds ago it was 5. Now it's 8 because there were 2 shots there. Nice play. There was a shot, and he followed it for his rebound. And that forced Heil to make 2 saves, and he was up to the task. And on that second one, got the cover. So U.S. has a 2-goal deficit here and would love to get on the board before the period ends in 6 minutes.
Now Kleber trying to bring it up that far wall, gets it across the line. 2-on-1 quickly developing. The U.S. walking right in on the doorstep, and Swanson couldn't finish as it was fed across right through the slot by Potter.
Yeah, poor Potter. He did the right thing, made the right play, but when he pulled it to his backhand and slid the pass over, the puck ramped up his stick and it came over as an uncatchable pass for Swanson, but he had really made the play to get it around the goaltender, and tough break there for Colin Potter in the U.S.
Riker Lee got wiped out by Aitchison, and Canada comes back the other way, but now the U.S. roars up ice with Potter. 3-on-2 if they hurry. Kleber to Potter, pass was in his skates, and he just could only take it in behind. Now Horkoff goes to the corner. Tried to play it by the defender. Now he gets it back. Feeds it over to the far side. Quick shot right on. Rebound. Puck comes loose and trying to bank it in behind. It comes into the crease, but then Canada gets the clear.
Yeah, Ben Keevan picks up the rebound behind the goal and had a chance there, swatted it toward the goaltender, just trying to bank it in off him before he got back into position. A good scoring chance for the U.S. Their good play continues. Shots now 15-8, but they've yet to solve the riddle of Joshua Ravensbergen, first-round pick of the San Jose Sharks, 6'4", just 180 pounds, so tall and thin, and he can drop down to that knees position and still cover the top corners.
Here was that 2-on-1 where Potter put it in the air and Swanson couldn't handle it cleanly. And then the scramble at the side of the Canadian net where Horcroft was trying to come from behind. And
yeah.
Keevan was there as well.
If that pass stays flat, no doubt that Max Swanson buries it. So nice play by the U.S. Tough break. When you go to your backhand, that stick curved a little different. Sometimes that puck can flutter, and that's what happened.
Yeah, no doubt about Swanson being able to finish. He was the USHL Player of the Year and Forward of the Year back in his days when he was with Fargo. Now a member of the University of North Dakota Fighting Hawks and a pick of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And of course his father, following the bloodlines that we see so much in the sport of hockey, Brian Swanson, second all-time leading scorer at Colorado College. Now at the side of the net, puck comes to Heil and he covers it, and that attracts a few bodies.
Yeah, so Swanson, Mooney's dad at Colorado College, I guess. Heard that when I was in Colorado Springs this week.
Yep.
These last 4 minutes, we got 3:41 to go. Real important for Canada. If they want to win this game, they would love to get to the period with a 2-goal lead. So very important here for both teams. The U.S. would love to get one so they're not down. Pratt's on the point. We'll keep an eye on him. He's got that physicality every shift.
Kendall now gets it to Muse, puts it in behind, trying to get it to Martin, but that was intercepted by Mooney, and he gets it ahead. Bednarik takes the bump, but plays it in. Grushevsky, the defenseman up front, right on the doorstep. Bednarik had a quick shot at it, but again, the save was made. That's chipped out to center. Osborne dumped to the ice, and that threw the play offside at the U.S. blue line with 3:07 left here in the second period, and more conversations as well.
So I think we might have had a penalty. I saw the cross check. So we saw the two linesmen with their arms up, but we also saw referee Haskell with his arm up, and with 3:07 to go, the United States goes shorthanded, giving Canada power play Canada goes shorthanded, giving the U.S. the power play for most of the rest of the period.
Right, here's
and
what
it's
he tagged
Martin.
him. Knocked down Martin right there.
Great break, great development for the United States as they go on the power play and would like to get on the board. So our personnel for this: Horkoff, Mooney, Kwasnicka, Osborne, Lee. Expect Horkoff to be that net front presence. He'll be a pest at the top of the paint, I would imagine. And as you pointed out, they're quarterbacking Mooney and trying to run things not on the umbrella tip, not out high on the point, but have set him up trying to overload on a flank. So we'll see if that's the power play they run with this unit.
Horcroft, though, can't win the faceoff, and Canada sends it all down. Osborne goes to the corner. He's tied up there by Josephson. And now the U.S. gets free, and they come charging through center.
And Josephson lost his stick wisely, went straight to the bench. They had a replacement ready for him.
Followed your advice.
And, yeah, I was really surprised in the first period when the player didn't. I know he was in his own end, but you could see the more it wore on why he would have been better off going.
Osborne now drops it off. Lee back to Osborne. Near side, Mooney. Side of the net, Kwasnicka. Mooney. Kwasnicka back to Mooney. Trying to find a hole in the box. Pass right across, but that pass bounced on Mooney. Now he shot, hit his own man. Gets it back again. Brings to Osborne. Riker Lee. Osborne, Mooney. That time it gets knocked down.
What a play by Meese. He knocked it out of the air, and that allows Canada to clear the zone.
Pretty impressive that the second overall pick of the draft is penalty killing. Horcroft drops it off. Riker Lee goes to the net. Backhander, and he put that off the post. He beat him clean, put it off the post, and Lee could just only look at the lights here at Ritter Arena after that didn't go.
Keep an eye on how deep we are. These Canadians have not been able to get off. We're a minute 40 into the penalty. Yeah, the U.S. is a minute 40 as well, but you burn a lot more energy trying to get into those passing lanes, and they would love a whistle, the Canadians.
And instead, the Canadians come away shorthanded. Driving to the net, going right in, backhander, and he puts it wide, does Malcolm Spence. And then he and Lee collide in the corner. Canada back at full strength, so the U.S. does everything but score on that power play as Riker Lee kissed one off the left post, but it stayed out. Final minute of period 2. Canada trying to get to the locker room up by 2. Martin driving the net. Forced off his stick. Now back near the blue line. They fight for possession. Ellick gets it down low, turning in the corner. And finally, the U.S. is able to escape. Coming up the near side, Swanson tries to find a trailer. Henricks, it's off his stick. Henricks retrieves at the blue line, throws it in the slot. Kevon throws it on net, and it's held for the faceoff with 19.5 left in the second.
The U.S. did everything but score, and at the same time, they were very fortunate that they didn't fall a third goal down. It was deep, deep, deep into that power play and penalty kill shift. Like a minute 40 had elapsed, and when Spence got the breakaway, Lee couldn't catch him from behind. He was tired and just wide of the mark. He pulled to the backhand, and, you know, it's interesting. You get Spence coming up like that with the goaltender buried back on the goal line. You might want to shoot a little earlier and then trying to deke him when he hasn't come out to greet you. Just ran out of room, but Spence with a nice play to have that breakaway shorthanded.
5 seconds left in the period. Potter feeds it ahead. Long shot, easy save at the horn, and there's the conclusion of the second period. The U.S. with a great period, out shooting Canada 18-10 for the game now. And in that second period, the U.S. had 14 shots on goal. Well, Canada had 7. So the U.S. doubling up on them, but they couldn't get home the one they needed. The only goal came here as the U.S. messed up their coverage defensively and gave Malcolm Spence an easy tap-in tally after Jake O'Brien put it on a platter for him there. And it's 2-0 Canada after 2.
A tough break here for the U.S. They had a good period. They played well. They outshot them 2-1, as you mentioned, and they go off the ice trailing by more than they did when they started. So, again, we're seeing some bright spots for both teams. Obviously, Canada played very well the last 6 minutes of the period, but the first 14 really struggled to get any kind of stride and spent a lot of time in their own end. So, we'll see if the U.S. can score next. Maybe the conclusion of this game gets a little more interesting, but they'll need to.
It will. This final 20 will be entertaining.
Yeah, they'll need to get one. Otherwise, they might just run out of time. We've seen long stretches of both periods where teams had trouble generating scoring chances. So, looking forward to it. And I'm also just wanting to mention, you know, it's fun to see some of the players stepping up. And we see a little bit more ice time today for Spence having a good game with the goal. Protz, who was playing sparingly leading up to this. And for the U.S., you know, I've really been impressed. You mentioned him on the power play, Luke Osborne.
Yep.
And we're seeing a great game from Kwasnicka. Max Swanson has looked good throughout. I really like Cullen Potter. And then when you get the room, when you get some time, so using him on power play, L.J. Mooney's an interesting one. He's playing for his junior coach who also coaches at the University of Minnesota, where he'll be a first-year player. And it wouldn't surprise me if he steps into a pretty big role. I know college coaches don't like to give away those opportunities because they have other guys in the program that have really bought in and spent years. But LG Mooney just shows some of those traits that really work well. And they play on a big ice surface next door, about 92 or 93 feet wide. And especially on the power play, Mooney could be lethal in the Gopher uniform.
Well, and the thing about Mooney is, well, two things that should allow him to take a big role quickly for the Gophers is Minnesota's top 5 scorers from a year ago, all gone, whether they graduated or more than likely turned professional. And so that's really going to be a big hole for Bob Motzko, and Mooney's that type of player that can make so many players around him better. He had 41 assists with the U.S. team last year, and you look at what he does, and teams may have shied away from him just because of his size. You see it here in these games. It just 5'10" is what they have him listed, or 5'8" rather.
But 150 something, it's not just the height. He's a slight player.
Correct.
And pendulum has swung, certainly when it comes to NHL draft, that it is big players again. And that's where he wasn't, top couple rounds. I want to point out, mentioned it earlier, but, the U.S., they had Canada held to, I think it was 4 shots for the first 30 minutes of the game. And it's a Canadian team with 9 first-rounders at forward, 3 at defense. So, credit the U.S. for being asked to step up, answer some questions. Can you hang? And they've done a great job really keeping Canada from having a lot of room. I'm frankly surprised they're down 2 goals because they've played better than that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But there's still 20 minutes left to change that. And we'll have the third period of this final game of the World Junior Summer Showcase coming to you live from Ritter Arena on the University of Minnesota campus. The third period coming up in about 10 minutes. There we go for the third and final period of this year's World Junior Summer Showcase. Team USA down a pair to Canada as we start this final 20 minutes of play.
And you have some plans tonight, Jim?
I don't know.
I'm about to put the curse.
Really?
You mentioned third and final period. This is the 11th game of high-level junior hockey, and we have yet to see a regulation tie. There is an overtime provision. I'm going to call it right now. I think the U.S. comes back, forces an overtime session, maybe even this gets to shootout. Well, I take that back. One of the Canadian inter-squad did go to, that didn't seem like a real game. when the countries have played another country, we have not had tie games. So I'm going to call it right now. I think we're going to be here a little bit longer because I think the U.S., which had a very good period, they fell a goal further down, but I think they build off that second period and come back and tie this one. Plenty of time left as long as they get the next goal.
All right, we're getting things squared away. Just waiting for the final seconds of this intermission to burn off the clock, and we want to thank everybody that has joined us here on USA Hockey TV. Thanks to our crew. Thanks to the people in Dallas that are helping out with the replays, and it's been a lot of fun this week. I would come and watch this tournament anytime. Even though it's not a tournament, it's not for anything, but you could tell there's a lot of pride at stake here, and guys fighting for jobs to be part of their national teams come December.
Yeah, if the Finns had a medal ceremony, it's because they went out for pizza after. They are the unofficial champions, but I'm sad to see it end. Looking forward to this last period, final. I put a question mark on the end of that because we could have an extra session here.
No, we are.
I love it.
You've named it, and I'm all for that. I will take overtime hockey anytime. The boat can wait. We'll get out there soon enough.
The lift is in.
Correct. Now Mooney coming back for the United States, floats it across. Kleber lets the wrist shot go, and that's gobbled up and held by Joshua Ravensburger.
Yeah, that's Rombach up the left-hand side.
Oh,
but
I'm sorry,
you will be forgiven for confusing the two skyscrapers, both up around 6'5", 6'6". Maybe I'll get to a funny story that you'll certainly relate to at another whistle.
I should get to know Rombach because he'll be here at the University of Minnesota next year. Big hulking defenseman from Blaine. Now a turnover. Kwasnicka coming in by himself. Now he'll take it to the net, and he rang it off the outside of the post, and it stays in the near side. Rushevitz throws it around to the far side. Kwasnicka gets it back to the point. That time, Cleven's shot did not get through. Or is that Rombach again? It's still out there, Mr. Rombach. 5 and 6, those two guys are. And now Rombach throws it up the far wall, all the way down. No icing. Canada has to play it. Now coming to the U.S. line is Brady Martin. He'll dump it in deep. Draft pick of the Nashville Predators. Ritchie in the corner. Gets it back to Protz. His shot blocked by Cleven. Now a centering pass right on the doorstep, trying to jam it in was Martin, but didn't get good wood on it. Now Protz activates. Goes to the corner, feeds it around to the far point. Martin high slot. Give and go. Coming in, the save is made by Heil. Rebound to the side of the net, and Moore calmly swoops in and takes it in behind his own net, but then he's stripped by Martin. Martin has it then taken away by Rayom, and he pushes it around to the near side, and it's finally cleared out to center.
What a shift for the Canadians. There was a shot block. Protz gathered his own rebound, slid it over to Misa, and he quickly sent it down to the slot area. A good chance for them, and then they just continued the pressure. And what I was so impressed with is the players swapping places, making it hard for the U.S. to defend against this constant motion like a swirling blender. Great shift for the Canadians.
Now Muse backs to get it, plays it up the near boards. Spence couldn't get out. McKinney had it, lost it, and now it's clear to the U.S. line, broken up, quickly turned ahead. Moe across the line, drop pass, comes out over the blue line. Canada trying to jump on it. take advantage of this 3-on-2. Centering pass and a great defensive play by Hendricks to hold his position and intercept that pass right at the goal line, and the U.S. then flagged for icing.
Face-off coming back to the left of Caleb Heil. So, Jim, spent a little time with the U.S. Women's Olympic team, and we were down. The first 3 games were at a local rink in Tampa, and the last day they played where the NHL team plays, and the broadcast space was at the highest point in the arena, and I confused number 3 and number 2, Kayla Barnes and Lee Steckline, which is unforgivable when one is 5 foot flat and the other one is a full 6 feet. But all I saw were 12 ants on the ice. That's how high we were up. So a little different, the type of assignments you get in those bigger buildings. Than nice. This is a great place to announce from. We're just on top of the ice in a 3,000-seat arena.
Now puck in the U.S. zone, down 2 with 16:08 to go. Riker Lee comes across the line. Knocked off the puck, but he's able to send it in deep. U.S. with it there. Back to Kleber. Now to the far side. Rombach puts it off the end wall, looking for perhaps a deflection out front to Potter. That misfired, but Lee has it. Tries to play it in deep, glove down, and shoveled out as Aitchison broke that up. Canada now driving right to the net. Heil holding his ground. The
That's
Canadian players say it's in, and it is.
Yeah, you had the referee behind and the Canadian players out as far as the blue line, all signaling goal. But you and I were in disbelief, as well as the U.S. players, because we couldn't see the puck from our vantage point. But good things happen when you go to the net. Good example here. They shovel it in, and it crawls up over Heil and wound up behind him. He thought he made the save, but actually just kind of ramped up and rolled over his shoulder. This will be the best angle we get.
Well,
I think it might have come up under his arm, but yeah, somehow puck got behind him, and the Canada lead is now a full 3 goals, which is not indicative of the gameplay. The U.S. has certainly been their equal up and down the ice, but just can't find any puck luck.
So U.S. now down 3-0. And the U.S. struggling here offensively. They've played well in their own zone, limiting Canada to just 13 shots, but they find themselves down by 3. Offside is Horcroft at the Canadian blue line. And so we'll have a face-off in the neutral zone with 14:51 to go.
Well, I'm not going to retract my prediction yet. We've got almost 15 minutes, and U.S. has shown some signs of life. But they've got to get that first one, and it's not been easy. Joshua Ravensbergen has been up to the task at times. They've hit some posts, so there's been no puck luck. And with 19 shots, no goals to show for it.
And that's another offside as Mooney brought it back in across the blue line. So we'll have a face-off in the neutral zone. Bednarik taking the face-off. The BU product, second-round pick of the New York Islanders, can't corral this face-off. And so Canada takes over. One thing I think the coaching staff may look at is face-off men. Potter seems to be the best for the U.S. This long pass. Good hustle to keep it alive and to negate the icing as Koznicka won the race for it. Canada, though, counters. Osborne breaks it up, and now he'll carry up the near side. Gets across the line. How's that not a slash? The Canadian player stick splits in half on the slash, yet play went on.
That goal, by the way, Ben Kindle with an assist to Tarek Parasak. and Kayshawn Atchison. And for those that just joined us, the second period goal was Malcolm Spence on the back door. O'Brien and Kindle with an assist. And their first period goal, which came on the power play, was Merrick Vanaker with an assist to Martin and Reshny.
McKinney beat on the face-off draw. And Canada has possession. After it on the far side, O'Brien puts it down low. Spence trying to center, that's picked off. Then Sagi plays it in, picks it up in the corner, tied up there. Puts it in behind. Moe knocked off the puck by Ellick. And now Spence comes back at the U.S. blue line. Holds onto it, drops it off, gets the return pass. Now he'll just shovel it in behind. O'Brien picks it up there, puts it in front. Rombach breaks that up. Canada, though, keeps it alive. Aitchison tries for the give and go, and that was blocked. As trying to come out in front was O'Brien. Canada starting to take over territorially here.
What a
they
shift.
could smell it.
What a shift. Muse had a good look.
Protz gets it back up high, long shot, blocker save, rebound. Controlled by Canada. Kindle drops it back to the point. That shot wide. Now Protz puts it in behind. Ritchie centering pass just ripped wide. Great setup right on the doorstep for Kindle. But he couldn't get that one to go as he fired wide of the target. Still, the U.S. hung up in their own end.
Well, Kindle and Muse had an unbelievable shift, and Protz just drilled Lee right up around that high chest area. And Protz continues to play a heavy, heavy game. He is tough to play against.
Canada really turning it up here in the third period. Not letting the U.S. even get out of their own zone. Heil puts it around the boards. And finally, the U.S. gets it out. Riker Lee plays it on the far side. Moore, sharp angle shot, turned to wide. Or rather, that was Max Swanson busting in on the far wing. Swanson now trying to get it centered in front for Kevon, but that was broken up. And now Rayon loading up, and he'll charge into the offensive end. Run into 4 defenders, so he'll play it in deep.
You mentioned how good Canada's been playing. They've leveled out the shots. It's now 20 for the U.S. and 16 for Canada. So considering they were at 4 at the game's midpoint, the last 21 minutes or 20 minutes have gone pretty well.
That sharp angle shot is gobbled up and held by the Canadian netminder with 10:54.
Boy, another one there. You just see Protz over and over and over knocking down the American players, and you think about the grit that Dale Hunter's known for. He played a hard, heavy game, and he may have found a kindred spirit in Owen Protz. One of the less glamorous. He wasn't as high a draft pick, 4th rounder of the Montreal Canadiens, but he has been very impressive in this game for that physicality.
Now the U.S., they've got to pick this up here. They've got to try to generate as much as possible. Start activating the defensemen as they are doing on this shift. Fiddler carries it in deep.
Yeah, Blake Fiddler, a big defenseman, 6'4". We had a pairing earlier when Rombach and Kleber were out together. How'd you like that one, Jim? It's 13 feet of D. Both about 6.5 feet tall. Yeah, Rombach's an interesting one. One of the other Minnesotans, he has a hometown of Blaine, but when you're driving up to Blaine, there's a couple high schools, and he attended Spring Lake Park High, played high school hockey there, was under recognized, a little bit of a lesser program, didn't get the attention, almost made the development team, left high school and tendered with the USHL team and has just been outstanding there. Comes to college hockey now. So Rombach is a little bit of a lesser attention in his youth hockey than some other metro area kids. And over time, none of that matters. And Jacob Rombach, a great example of a big fish in a smaller pond of Spring Lake Park High School.
Yeah, and he was quite the defensive defenseman for Lincoln. He was a plus 29 last season in the USHL, and that's a league that doesn't spend too much time playing in their own end. Hendricks knocks it down with a glove. Misa right on him, though, takes it away, drives it in. 9:33 to go here in the hockey game. Canada now up by 3. They've gotten a goal in each period.
Slow and steady wins the race. We've got crossed over that midpoint, which means next whistle will get the snow crew. And at this point, you know, every second that melts off is an advantage Canada. There's no longer, you know, plenty of time to launch a comeback. So U.S. is going to have to start pressing here. And I won't be surprised if we see maybe some double shifting of some of those more prolific scorers that they have. Otherwise, they're just going to see time run out. And I'd like to think the U.S. does not want to close out the summer showcase with 3 straight losses by multiple goals.
No, I don't think that was.
It's not how you
in
draw
the
it up.
lesson plan.
No, you don't draw it up like that. So it's interesting, Jim. You know, you pointed out they'd won the last 2 World Juniors, 3 of the last 5, and then you've got the summer showcase as kind of a wellness check, see how you're doing and are you ready for it. And they've played better today, but if they don't make this a little more interesting, they'll close with 3 straight, 3-goal losses.
But you do have to remember this is an evaluation camp more than anything. Wins in August will mean little if you don't win in December and January. And so these lineups, you know, are not. Canada doesn't have their best on the ice. The U.S., and again, I use quotations on best. All these players are sensational and worthy of the ice time. But the coaching staff and the USA Hockey brass putting guys in different situations to see how they respond. So when they get to those pressure-packed games of the World Juniors, big hit there on Hendricks as he got ran over on the near side by Spence and put a little extra polish on it. But Hendricks bounces right back up.
Yeah, nice physicality. I think there's a few players out there where you'd say they're trying to make sure the other team remembers that they came. And Bratz is one, and Spence with a big hit there.
Now going right to the net and jamming at it. Horcroft right on the doorstep. But again, the save was made by Ravensbergen. 23-16, the shots in favor of Team USA. And here's that big hit along the near boards.
Onto the bench. A decleater in football speak. You got that ramping up. A lot of coverage for the Minnesota Vikings and Gophers, I'm sure, on the docket for Fox 9.
No doubt. Here's Kleber back near the blue line. Walks in. Now fires it. Didn't get through. Rebound controlled by the U.S. Looking to make something here. Potter. Now back near the blue line. Lee's shot deflects wide. Swanson in behind. Leaves it for Potter. Potter buzzes back near the blue line. Rombach throws it towards the net, deflected by Lee, and a big save there.
Absolutely love what I see from the U.S. here. They're playing with that sense of urgency. 8 minutes to go, and they've been threatening the entire shift.
Now Rombach activates, keeps it alive. Swanson in the near corner. Spins away from one man, gives to Lee. Now back to Kleber. To the near side, Lee backhands it. It's tipped to the far wall out of Rombach's reach. And Canada's able to lift it high in the air to center. Kleber, though, fields it there cleanly, and the big defenseman sets up shop. Canada, though, was able to make changes. Kleber was trying to catch him and not allow them to make changes, but now the goaltender grabs it, holds it, and takes the draw with 7.5 to go in the game.
It's fun to watch Kleber. He's a very big defender. Knocks it down, had to get it flat, made a curl move, didn't like what he saw, went the other way, got his head up, couple strides. He's doing all the things that a 5'6" player would do, and he's doing it at 6'6". So pretty neat shift there, fun to watch Adam Kleber.
Off the draw, U.S. controls. Bo's quick shot just goes wide. Nearly popped back out front, but it was swept back behind the Canadian cage. Now the U.S.
Great push by Horkoff. A lot of pressure from the U.S. right now. Now Fiddler holds the zone.
In behind, centering pass. Doesn't connect, and now the Canadians come back the other way. Rayon back to pick it up. Under 7 now left in regulation. This big crowd would like to have something to celebrate. Over 2,000 here. Biggest crowd of the showcase. Along the far wall. Kwasnicka couldn't come up with it clean. And now the Canadians get it across the U.S. line, but it's quickly turned the other way by Mooney.
What a play by Boisvert. He carried it a long way with 3 guys on him. He ended up losing it, but just being able to take it into the U.S. zone and melt seconds off the clock is going to help the cause as we're down to 6 minutes.
Shot wristed wide of the cage by Brushevitz. Hendricks plays it around to the far side. Brushevitz pinches in from the point, gives to Mooney. He's spun off the puck in the corner. And Canada's able to just get it out over the blue line. Put back in, delayed offside as Mooney was trapped deep. Now it's onside, but the Canadians come roaring out. Misa across the line, wrist shot missing on the glove side, and it rebounds all the way out. A race for it. McKinney rubbed out along the far boards, and Canada takes over. Now under 5.5 to go.
What a shift by Protz. You mentioned Mooney. Mooney's a little bit smaller player looking to find space. Protz took it away, and then later in the shift took a line on the puck and won it with his body, separating the player. He's, he's a Bash brotherish type player for you Mighty Ducks fans. Fulton Reed-like. He brings some grit and energy, and it's all helping the team. So really enjoying watching him. He's gotten a lot more ice time today than in the previous game.
Yeah, he has been recognizable out there, to say the least. Carbonneau sends it in deep. Under 5 left in regulation. The U.S. trying to break through here and challenge the Canadians. Osborne plays it in. Kicked around the far side. Up the wall. Martin can't get out. Puck is loose. They score! Potter wires it home on the glove side, and the U.S. has life. Now down 2 with 4:31 left.
Swanson got put down and somehow still got the pass over to Potter. He sends it just inside the post. There was a delayed penalty on the call. Testing. Things just got more interesting, and I can't recall in the IIHF rulebook, do they serve? A lot of times in different levels, that goal negates the penalty, but there are a few levels where you still have to serve. Looks like we're going to come out 5-on-5. The penalty goes in the book, but not on the board.
Yep, and they won't get the benefit of that rule that you see in other leagues.
What a play by Max Swanson.
So Colin Powder from right here in Minneapolis plays at Arizona State. First round pick of the Calgary Flames. Gets the U.S. on the board. Kindled feeds it back to the point. Long shot blocked. And it's still alive. Josephson, bottom of the circle, feeds in front. And that was broken up by Fiddler. They fight for it, jamming away. Heil can't find it in the traffic. And finally, it comes free on the far side, and the U.S. is able to get it out to center and take the pressure off. Now Osborne brings it up. And they score again. It's now a one-goal game.
Ben Keevan, lethal, found him in the slot, buries a no-doubter. You could feel that energy pick up when Potter got the goal, the crowd got into it, and Ben Keevan, a huge scorer in the USHL. He's from a little town north of Oakland, California, and he has made this 3-2. There's 3:44 to go, and it's a whole new ball game here at Ritter.
Now we'll have to see what happens here. How quick a hook does Bob Motzko have to pull Heil to the bench? Or does he let the team continue to work the way they have?
When they had the zone there, I was looking to see if they might pull him with 3.5-ish because they were down 2. But Keevan gives them a little bit of breathing room. They don't need to panic yet, down 3-2.
16-16, time of the goal. And now they get an offensive zone draw.
The U.S. ticked up on the shot board once again. It was 20-16 not long ago, now 26-16. They are really finding their stride. Is it in time or too little too late? You weren't going to let me adjust my prediction about overtime, so I think we got one more.
And now Bob Motzko calls his timeout here to go over the strategy. Assistant coach Greg Brown bringing the players together. And there'll be some instructions here for the goaltender, Mr. Heil, on when he'll be lifted if the U.S. needs that extra attacker.
Yeah, the timeout's big because you also get to rest your personnel. There are probably, handful, maybe 6 forwards that they want to get out in these late game situations. And even though we just saw Potter, just saw Keevan, we could see them again coming out of the timeout. And for the U.S., this is the time to give everybody the reminder when it is 6-on-5, and we may need to get the goaltender out if we're playing 6-on-5. Anytime you see a loose puck, you go to it. It's only an 85-foot wide sheet. They should be able to make it hard for Canada to clear the zone, taking advantage of that extra skater if they can get the goaltender. And Jim, 3:18 to go. They don't even put Heil back in. He's already on the bench.
The extra attacker is out. McKinney to take this all-important face-off for the United States. And they say it was dropped unfairly, and so we'll do it all again.
I love the call. I see a lot of teams that wait, and if they lose the zone, it can be hard to regain the zone. So they didn't take any chances. And even though it's early, 3:18 to go, the U.S. should be able to, even if they lose the draw, make it hard for Canada to exit the zone. So nice, bold call here by the U.S. coaching staff.
Still trying to get this puck dropped. Everybody knowing how critical a face-off this is. Puck is under. McKinney comes free, and Canada flips it down ice. A race for it. The Canadians with a shot at the empty net, and they do it, burying it. And now the U.S. back down by 2 as Michael Hage hits the empty net. And the U.S. back down by 2 with 3:08 left.
Oh, what a play by Hage. He had to fight his way through some traffic. The puck was sent out to a harmless space by the Canadians, and somehow he gets a path around that defender. And what a great play by Michael Hage. He was 21st pick in the first round of the Montreal Canadiens, and didn't call his name a lot today, which makes me think maybe they were, deeper into the line chart, maybe playing some different players. But, game got a little close, and let's get Hage out there, and he gets a little insurance with that empty net goal.
So the U.S. back down by 2. Henricks overskates, retrieves, fires it off a Lee's stick and into the offensive end.
Heil to the bench.
Yep, Heil gone again, so the U.S. tries again, and now Canada pokes it out, has the empty net, flips it towards it, and that one bounces wide of the cage, and Henricks will reset. Reshdi watching him. Osborne played it across the line. Here's Lee. Brings it back near the blue line. Bouncing
Hand
puck,
pass.
and they're going to be a hand pass, high stick. Bunch of infractions on that.
Yeah, it's interesting. There used to be no hand passes, and at some point to open up the game a little bit, they allow a hand pass in your own end defensively. So you do see some hand passing in hockey, but that one was an obvious one. Inside the blue line, he kind of tipped it like a basketball pass over the defender's head, and there's just no way for Lee to get out of the way of it. It was going to be a hand pass because he had possession. Heil back in goal for the moment.
And so the U.S. now has to get a player off the ice. McKinney crawls back into the bench momentarily, depending on who gains possession off the faceoff. Canadians do win the draw. U.S. trying to work it free. Heil sprints to the bench. McKinney jumps on to help out. It's cleared up the wall and sent all the way down. Canada will get there first. Misa in the corner, centering pass, broken up, and now Lee charges back up center ice to the blue line. Drops it off there, and it's cleared out. A race for it, another empty net, and it's put in by Misa. And now it is a 5-2 advantage for Canada with under 2 to go.
And we've got a few people heading for the exits, but it sure got interesting there for a little bit at the latter stages of the third period. And I think the U.S. has to be proud of the resiliency. The game never really devolved. We didn't see any silly plays, any players getting frustrated. They were just trying to claw their way back in, and they did a great job of that. Those goals, two quick ones, Potter and Keevan. But in the end, that final push, the Canadians did a good job clearing the zone, won a couple races, and two empty netters make it 5-2.
So the conclusion of the Summer Showcase will end here at Ritter Arena. The next time these teams will be back out on the ice as Canada just really starting to rub a little salt in the wound. Jake O'Brien whipping that one home.
Wow, that feed from Vanacker and the passes that led to it. It was the most impressive shift of passing we've seen from the Canadians at even strength. There's a quick pass, there's the give back, and O'Brien hammers that home. And tough one for Heil to give up because it seemed like he's spent the last 5 minutes focused on, or 4 minutes getting off the ice, and put him back in, and a beautiful shot by O'Brien.
91 seconds left. So you look at what we have seen here, and we've both been impressed with Sweden and Finland. They by far were the class of this showcase. Canada, until today, had been pretty lax in the results from what we've seen from them. In the United States, they've been scrappy. They've been in all their games. They just have moments where they make mistakes, and it seems like all those mistakes ended up in the back of their net.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's just so many unanswered questions. You'd like to have an idea about the bulk of your roster, and you'd like to have an idea which are the two goalies that are going to play and who would you lean on. And you just don't know from what we saw. There's some returning players from last year, and they were gold medalists, and we know that they certainly expect them to be a part of the team. But beyond that, I think there's a lot of work on the part of Motzko and staff, and they may even continue to watch these players as they start the college seasons on the different teams that they play for.
Yeah, they had 5 goaltenders here at this showcase, trying to give everybody a chance to show their wares here. But defensively, the U.S. now, since they've combined into one team, they started this event with a white team and a blue team, and then for the last 3 games, they merged into one, swinging players in from the white and the blue. They now will have given up 6 goals in every single game. So.
Yeah, that first game of the week, and it seems like forever ago, you and I did the game where they had a close game with Finland. I think it was 2-2 late, and the U.S. won 5-2.
Yep.
What's interesting is Finland ran the table after that, including beating a very good Swedish team today. And the U.S. never really found consistent play, as you mentioned, just giving up too many goals. This one, final's a lot misleading here. It's 6-2 final, but it was 3-2 when there were 2 late empty net goals. So some positives for the takeaway, but I think Canada, who also had a lot of questions being asked, they've got to feel pretty good about how they played. They had a real good recovery from an ineffective half. A little bit feckless when you've put up whatever it was, 4 shots at the midpoint. But the rest of the second period and most of the third, they looked great. And then hanging on against that onslaught as the U.S. caught fire in the final 5.
Looking back at the goals, and you can see that the bounces just didn't go the U.S.'s way. I mean, Heil had that one trapped against the side of the net, but it crawled up over his pad and into the net. U.S. then got back into it. Potter with that quick one-timer, and then the U.S. again down the slot makes it a 1-goal game as Kevon scored. But then with the goaltender pulled, they took the risk early, and Canada slid a pair into the empty net before O'Brien buried one to make the final 6-2 in favor of Canada.
When we look at the World Junior proper, it starts December 26th and rolls over into the first few days of January. The U.S. and Canada are in opposite pools. There's 10 teams coming. 8 will reach the quarterfinals. So I think these teams are almost certain locks to get that far. Some of the smaller nations may struggle to beat these teams. And I think there will be a little bit of a working process for both throughout that first week. And if you play well at the end, some good goaltending late, and have those top players carry your team, a medal and a gold, certainly not out of the question. So it'll be a fun one. If you don't have your tickets and you don't have your plans to get to the Twin Cities, take care of that now. And if you can't be here, there's always NHL Network. They'll have a lot of games for the World Junior, hosted next door at Mariucci Arena, and then I think the U.S. going to have all their games at the XL Energy Center where the Minnesota Wild plays. So I'm really looking forward to the event, and this week, Jim, just really got the juices flowing. I can't wait to see those Scandinavian teams compete for a medal. They were so fun to watch playing hockey, the purest way. Anybody would love the way to watch the way those teams played.
Yeah, no doubt. There is a lot of tremendous athletes on the ice here this week at Ritter Arena, and there'll even be more at stake when they reconvene. This was supposedly just for fun, but there was a lot of pressure on these players. Trying to impress the coaching staffs and show them what they could do in critical situations. But for now, it's back to school for a lot of these guys, or up to major juniors or USHL, and await the call. When this team reconvenes in December, there'll be another camp then. There'll be some exhibition games before that Boxing Day opener, and they'll be playing around the state here. Rochester, Duluth will have some games, and